Good morning. It's 9 a.m., Monday, September 12th, 2022. This is the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First is to review the agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
Motion by Jeff, second by Nathan. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action to approve claims dated September 12th, 2022 in the amount of $1,086,943.45.
Move to approve.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action to approve Drainage District Number 13 stamped warrants dated September 12, 2022 in the amount of $33,530.25.
I'll move the approval. Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next up is items with Planning and Zoning Administrator Eric Furnace. Morning, Eric.
Morning.
First item is discussion and possible action to approve resolution 0912-22-01, resolution recognizing the name and platting of a private drive in Muscatine County.
Okay, if you'll recall, back on June 6th, the county vacated the final remaining section of Mound Avenue that runs north from Highway 22 to 1980 Mound Avenue, Donnie Wagner's farm. There's a house and multiple agricultural buildings there. That's been vacated. It wouldn't really be very ideal to give it a Highway 22 address because of the distance it sits back off the road, and so he had questions on addressing. Since there is no remaining Mound Avenue anymore in the county, we've just looked at creating a private road name, Mound Avenue, and allowing him to keep his same address, so we won't have to, any of the GPS systems that are out there already would have that in there. We'll just, by resolution, adopt this as a private named drive, much like a subdivision drive. We use this mechanism very rarely. Normally we have private drives, but they're part of a approved platted subdivision. But we came up with this process to utilize a resolution to just recognize it as a named private drive. I can change it then in our rural addressing system as such, have GIS folks change it as a private drive, but that way he gets to keep the same address for emergency services and delivery vehicles.
I'll move the approval. Second.
I got a motion by Jeff, a second by Nathan. This is a roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Santos?
Aye.
And Doug?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action to accept variances granted by the Muscatine County Board of Adjustment on September 2nd, 2022.
Okay, got three variances. First one was in Moscow, in the Willowbrook Estate Edition. It's a newer subdivision right outside of Moscow, 1129 Raleigh Lane. It was variance for the property owner there to build a detached garage, or excuse me, an attached garage onto their dwelling, and only 32 feet from the corner lot line instead of the required 37. That was granted. There was another one. Let's see. Mount Pelier Township, 1699 Zale Avenue, a variance in order for the owner to place an outbuilding in front of their dwelling, but it would at least be 70 feet from the front property line. So it meets the minimum 50-foot setback. It exceeds that, but the variance is to allow a detached accessory structure in the front yard. This is the last lot on that stretch of Zale, and it's very wooded and very steep to the rear, so they found a hardship existed to allow it in the front yard.
There's really nowhere else to build on that, I
Right,
would think.
between septic and the topography there, so they found there was a hardship there for that. And then finally, Spring Valley Ranchettes off, that subdivision off Spring Valley Bible Camp Road, 180th, 2798 Deer Creek. The property owner requested a variance to place a 910 square foot ground mount solar array. This is a private, this is not commercial solar. Only 16.8 feet from the front line and north of the driveway instead of the 50-foot setback. This was really the only ideal location for that as well. It's at the end of this street. There's no sight distance issue, so that they found that there was a hardship present based on the topography.
It's farmland north of there, and if I understand, there's kind of a hill toward the back that would.
It's a steep hill, then it drops down to some floodplain, and actually the spot sits down in a little bit of a depression, and so the structure isn't going to be glaringly high up around the road. It sits a good distance off the road and down in about the only flat spot on the property for a private solar panel. So,
Looks good to me. I'll move to approve.
Second.
I've got a motion by Nathan, second by Jeff. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next is action to set a public hearing for October 30, 2022 at 9 a.m. on a request to rezone approximately 10 acres in Montpelier Township from A1 Agricultural District to R1 Residential District.
That actually should read 10/3, October 3rd instead of 30th.
Gotcha.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you
No,
read
it's-
it, but
it's
you
just a
read what's
typo.
on there, it's
Got
just
it.
on there wrong.
All right. So the date is October the 3rd, to clarify.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion by Nathan, second by Jeff. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else there?
Is that just a subdivision that they're looking at doing, or?
this is, it's a rezoning for now, obviously. Very minimal proposed subdividing if this would be first step, because it's agricultural, so.
Sure. Alright.
All right, thank you very much. Next up is items with Assistant County Engineer Brian Horowski. First is discussion of possible action to approve various utility permits.
Good morning.
Morning.
We have one utility permit this morning. It is from Muscatine Power and Water of Muscatine, Iowa. Excuse me. They are requesting to install underground fiber and electric along 231st Street from Burlington Road north and west to roughly the end of Hunter Road. There's a lot of right of way there. They're kind of coming the back way up into Hunter Road. They had an aerial fiber that got damaged, so this is what kind of initiated this work.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Joe, second by Doug. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Project updates.
The 171st Street, the paving project, that's been open up for a couple weeks now, but last week, the subcontractor out there worked on seeding and other erosion control measures. In our office, we've started the closeout process for that project. Hopefully that'll be in the rear view mirror here very soon. The York Ave Bridge, that was opened last week to traffic. There's some real minor things left, like a little bit of fencing, but other than that, that one's pretty much done as well. And we've also started the closeout process for that. Our microsurfacing project, which is Fort Dodge Asphalt, they started that a few weeks back. They did some crack sealing. They had some material issues. One of their material suppliers kind of fell through. So they're struggling to get some material. They have started to, but it's a slow process, and there is the potential this one might get pushed back a year till next spring, just because due to the time of year and weather. We'll see how it goes in this week. So our local pipe culverts project, which is PCI, the majority of the grading and all the pipes are done. There were 4 locations. So right now they're working with their subcontractor to get Vale Ave and 155th Street paved so we can open them up. And then our local HMA resurfacing project, which is our contractor is Manats. We held a pre-construction meeting last week. Manats plans to begin late this month. And that's going to be resurfacing on 180th, North Isa, Bayfield, and then up on Steel Mill, up there between Moscow and Wilton.
So they're gonna do that this year, you said, still?
Yes, that's the
When they
plan.
do that resurfacing, doesn't that require a temperature requirement to adhere to?
Yep.
And there's no concerns with the cold weather coming with that? I mean, that needs to be like, I think it's like 200 plus degrees or something to that effect when it adheres.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to play it by ear and see what the weather does. Some years we've gotten lucky, paving late, the weather stays nice. And then other years, they just can't go and it's got to get pushed into
So they'll
the
they'll
following
make sure they'll
construction
follow
season.
with that, not, or will somebody from our group be there to verify?
Yes, we will have people typically at the plant, and we always have people out on grade inspecting.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anything other? No? Thank you very much, Brian. Next is discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the August 29, 2022 regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Motion by Jeff,
Second.
second by Doug. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Correspondence, Jeff?
Just had on September 1st, the annual steak fry with the Farm Bureau. I see Nathan had forwarded a number of emails that he did, probably talk about from the various activities. That's it.
Okay. Nathan?
Sure, so I just forwarded mainly some FYI stuff. We got a new associate director for the Mississippi Valley Workforce Development Authority Board. We have, there was a nice presentation or a nice interview that the Department of Corrections, I believe, director did that was just passed around, so I thought I'd forward it to you all. Oh, there's another thing I sent, mainly just some FYI of information I received from various people. Had a few discussions with citizens, one about whether birth control is offered through public health. And it looks like about 10 minutes ago I got a response. It would appear that yes, indeed, we do get, there is some availability for that. A recommendation to fund a Muscatine County Museum with ARPA funds. Unfortunately, the ARPA deadline has passed, and I don't think we received an application on that. Also, Scott and I met on Wednesday the 7th with some folks from the Canadian Pacific Railway, their government affairs and public affairs directors. Got some good information. I forwarded some of that we received back after some of the inquiries we made. A lot of interesting things that they presented there, and of course had a lot of discussions with folks around town and the county about just the implications of that.
Okay. Myself, I attended the Farm Bureau meeting on September the 1st, and I as well, with Nathan, had the discussion with the Canadian Pacific representatives, and there again, just talked about the concerns of the amount of extra trains and traffic that would come forward, and just some other points of interest there, of which all this information goes back to their respective areas, and that's all gets hashed out on the federal side, and they were just basically gaining input. Is that right, Nathan?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole review process they're undergoing, and you know we're one small cog in that wheel.
Exactly. So that's all I had. Santos?
So I had a couple more emails in regards to the drainage district, and the 108 submittal that they're doing for the levy. The submittals will be going in due to between now and October, because I think the Corps' calendar year is October for where they can start actually reviewing that. I think they were out of budget money until October is my understanding. I think we're having a follow-up meeting later this week. I don't understand if that's like Tuesday or even today. I'm not even sure. I think that was a doodle emails that are going back and forth on that, so I'll figure when they submit that to us. Had that Farm Bureau as well meeting. I have a meeting with MPW last week in regards to Deep Lakes. It was a good conversation with them in regards to the distances that we had talked about in the 10 feet that we had mentioned before from the sewer and the water, and was made aware that if you actually provide the same material for your sewer, if it's made out of the same material that your water is, that's only a 4-foot requirement, which was interesting to understand. And it's not 10 feet like horizontally, it actually can be linear. It's just 10, if you were to go 4 feet, it could be, you know, off at an angle or to that nature. Also had a discussion with them in regards to, you know, helping fund some of that in regards to knowing that we're asking for that. They shared with me quite a bit of, I'm gonna say, they weren't so open to just say, hey, here's X amount of dollars. I think they were more interested in trying to see how they could help us with engineering, looking at ways to be more efficient. And I shared with them that this obviously wasn't something that we were trying to, make as we're not building a housing addition where we're gonna make money off of it. They were open to having that discussion with possibly, engineering cost, possibly helping to do the install. Kurt was there with us as well too, and I felt like we had a good productive meeting. It was just in regards to, the cost, possibly reviewing some of those estimates to make sure that we were not way off on our numbers, if there was ways that we could save dollars on it, but I felt like it went well. I also had the meeting, not a meeting, I had a couple emails back and forth with Eric in regards to some vehicles and complaints that we had in Montpelier, and he followed up with that, and I shared that with the residents there. That's all I had.
Okay, Doug?
The only thing I had was the emails that Nathan sent out this morning.
Okay.
That was it.
Committee meetings, Jeff?
Yeah, on 9/8, we had the MA commission meeting. We had a discussion around taking over the tower site at,
That was actually a Muscatine meeting.
huh?
That was a Muscatine meeting.
Oh, Muscom meeting, okay, sorry. I put EMA.
Yeah.
Change that to Muscom too, Titan. Then Muscom meeting. So the state has a tower site up at Wildcat Den. And if we have an interest in joining ISIX, which is the state's build out of a P25 network, we can get that tower site, which would add some coverage for us and be good. We could drop our participation in the Starcom network and all that. So we had a pretty thorough discussion about that, and I think the user group had recommended that we move forward with that. I think the commission is interested in moving forward with that, and I think that's something that this board is gonna have to look at, budget implications as we go forward, so that's it.
Okay, Nathan, any committees?
See, the Muscatine Community Health Association meeting, that was going to be on the 7th was canceled, unfortunately, I think due to lack of a quorum. And then on the 9th, I had the District 7 Department of Corrections Board meeting. And that's the source of one of the emails that I forwarded.
All right. I had no committees. Santos?
I had the Solid Waste Commission on on 8:30, I'm sorry, and they didn't have a quorum. I ended up sharing some constructive feedback with the city of Muscatine in regards to scheduling that more than just a day before the day of the meeting, with the amount of individuals that they had, and possibly communicating that a little bit better, since we only meet quarterly, knowing that we're still in the process of trying to get the 2080 updated. I'm kind of concerned just looking at where we're at on the overall solid waste operation. So I think I copied in the county attorney in regards to that as well too. They said they were gonna try to do a better job on that, and hopefully we can get that rescheduled. That's all I had.
All right, very good. Doug?
I had no committee meetings. I missed the Muscom
Okay.
meeting because I had a previous appointment, so.
All right, very good. Next is items with the administration office. Discussion and possible action to approve proclamation 09/12/2201 National Voter Registration Month.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Nathan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is action authorizing chair to sign American Recovery Act grant agreements with Muscatine Power and Water and Lower Cedar Watershed Management Authority.
I'll move to approve.
Got a motion by Jeff,
Second.
second by Doug. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next is ongoing discussion regarding the second round of ARPA funding requests. And I believe we've got information.
I put a revised listing of the requests in your packet. The revision on this is $100,000 was added to what's available because WTC declined their grant.
Okay.
And as a reminder, kind of where you guys were at the last time, what you were discussing was the two conservation projects, $1 million towards the courthouse roof, the $100,000 to Liberty Communications, and then some additional funding to the physicians clinic.
So I feel comfortable, one of the things that I would say on the conservation dollars in regards to what we're doing, again, I think it's gonna be a great asset for the county in regards to the campgrounds. However, I would wanna make sure that we set those dollars off to the side with the agreement that we move on, county attorney's gone, but with the MOU that we have with the city. I have a meeting scheduled with them today. So I'd like to, set those dollars still with the understanding that we put that in place prior to actually, releasing those dollars into that.
Well, and once, if you guys get to the point where you have narrowed down how you want to apply the money, then a resolution would come back to you next week formally encumbering those funds. And that still can be changed.
Okay. I've already talked to them, I think they're already on the same page, I just wanna have something that the county attorney writes up, so we just basically have that clear and stated. So it's just a matter of getting that put in place.
Were we talking, because in my notes I have, we were talking about the sewer connection, but we didn't have anything toward the water. As I recall, that could present some problems. And what was the updated cost projections on these?
None of the cost projections have changed
Okay.
in this version, right? Or did the conservation ones change?
They updated, yeah, we updated them on 8/22, so the new numbers that Kurt had brought in are on that spreadsheet.
And the $100,000 that WTC declined is back in the dollars available.
Right, so the requests seem to be, I mean, help me understand it, cause I'm just not remembering why it's gone down so much for the amount requested on the sewer connection. It's like cut in half essentially.
Well, we had two different paths we looked at.
Right,
Yeah, well, just re-estimated cost. That first cost I gave you come from the city engineer. The
that
second
1.3,
one comes from Bolton Mink, and I think they just saw some cost savings that
That's
they had in.
great.
Yeah. And I think the other piece too, having the conversations with MPW, ideally, and I thought about this multiple times before I even thought this, but ideally, we're gonna probably bid this competitively together. So in next year's funding, when we start doing some of this work, the contractor will most likely bid that job simultaneously, so that the dollars will be saved in mobilization, hopefully in some sort of excavation, and ideally, you know, having the help with MPW in regards to some of the engineering work. I think that we will still see some savings. If we don't see an enormous amount, maybe, you know, some of the dollars that we still allocate can go towards the actual infrastructure that would be put into the campground site itself, because this is just the dollars that actually will bring the water to that location. So I think that it's still gonna possibly be less than that. I would think that that's the deal. This is just an estimate that an engineer from Bolton Mink gives to us, not an actual quote or a bid in that nature.
Right. Right.
So, you know, allocating those dollars, getting the work scheduled, and then hopefully coming back in and saying, hey, yeah, we estimated at 800, but ideally we came in at, you know, 650 or something to that effect. That could still be the case.
The resolution that'll be brought back to the board will give a not to exceed number.
Yep.
For making dollars available for each project. So it won't be that, you know, you're gonna hand over $800,000. If it comes in at 500,000, that's all
Sure.
we're gonna contribute.
Okay.
so by my math, that leaves us a little over $1 million left.
Well,
We said, you
Did we
said
say
a million.
something, we were giving something to the clinic and we were doing,
Right, we got the 425.
So you're at 3.6 with everything out, Nancy had outlined, we talked about, you're about 3.6 million,
I
and
thought
we
we
got a
were
4.2.
3.2.
Yeah, I thought we were 3.2.
Is that, how much is that given the physician's clinic?
That was a
6.
million to the, million to
Well,
the,
okay, cause that last time what you talked about was like 625.
oh, okay.
yeah.
I thought we had a million, whatever, I don't
Did we say
remember.
625?
Yeah, I thought we said
I
six
thought
hundred.
it was 875, but I.
That was last year.
First time we give
Oh,
875.
that's right.
All right.
So I've got just over, we got 1,043,000, according to my very possibly flawed spreadsheet.
Okay, so, wait,
$1 million to the physician's clinic, 100,000.
No, you said, somebody said 670.
you said
620, 625.
625.
That would bring the total that you give the physician clinic 1.5 mil.
Yeah.
625, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 625. And then we're doing 100 for,
For Liberty?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Courthouse was
we're doing
1 million.
the 876, 614. And the courthouse roof is 1 million. And the reason why we talked about like last time was the treasure remodel and stuff like that is because we're still gonna do that whole review, right, with,
But we wanna get, we're gonna get an architect involved.
yeah, we want
Right.
what's his name to get
Do
in
a
there.
different design and we'll look at that through capital or something.
So what about,
You've
what
already
about
signed
the,
an agreement with Mike
We already
Nolan
signed it with
to,
Nolan
Yep.
to start that work,
Yep.
right?
so what about the drug task force? Can we do that?
Good, let me.
Jim Barry had given some indication that, that might be, appropriate use for some of the excess fine collections that goes directly to the county attorney. He certainly hasn't committed to that, but that, he at least had that conversation with me, just so you know.
Well, could we set that aside and then if he chooses that we can't, can we still
can if you
pull
want.
that back out?
I mean, it's
Sure.
basically an endowment is what this amounts to, is that correct?
Yes,
Would that fall under the right rules, Sherry, if it's an endowment?
Basically, it's to help support ongoing operations, so you wouldn't necessarily call it.
I call it
endowment.
that, but yeah.
Right.
Well, okay, that's what, I thought an endowment was like not what we're supposed to, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, and I think we talked before about the issues with forfeitures.
Mhm.
You know, with the way transactions are happening now with pay apps and, correct me if I'm wrong, they're not seizing cash, it's been forfeited to fund the operation, so until they work out a system that the Venmos and
Mhm.
PayPal, that those funds can be seized from there, it's cut back on their operations. 'Cause for
Operational.
years, they operated on, money that's seized. So-
Right. Well, and their account does look a little thin based on the balance statement they provided.
Right.
I would like to set that aside and then if the county attorney says that we could do the other, then I would do that, if that's all right.
I like that.
Okay.
You guys?
I'm fine with it, I think that, I don't have a problem at all moving the 75 there and just leaving it there and we know that they'll do good work and get it done. I'm okay with that. And if the county attorney comes with more money, that's great.
Terrific.
All right, so what-
Set it aside and the county attorney contributes, this was to sustain them for more years then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had some discussion about the backup server and the jail surveillance, did we not?
that's in the current year's budget, I believe.
Alright, so we don't
The
need
backup server,
Yeah,
not the
not the
surveillance.
surveillance.
oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the backup server's in the budget.
What about the balance to cover the remaining cost on the courthouse roof replacement?
Yeah.
I'm okay with either one.
I mean, because the remaining projects are essentially, the remaining requests are construction projects or larger projects that we have nowhere near enough money left to cover.
Well, what's that Muscatine Connect to Iowa system? Isn't that like
Well,
putting up
that's
a
the one
huge
I just,
tower?
that's the one I just talked about. But I think that has gone from 2 million to 3.6 million. So, yeah,
3.9.
3.9, okay.
Do I hear 4?
Details. So 3.9 million and, you know, I think, staff has, you know, we've had discussions and they have thoughts, and I think that that's a whole broader discussion, and really, I think the ARPA funds, I think we focus them on these things, and I don't think it's, if you threw a few $100,000 over there, it's not gonna tip that one way or another. That's gonna take a bigger plan.
Takes a bigger bucket, doesn't it?
Takes a bigger bucket, so.
Yeah.
And so, like all these bridge replacements, for example, that were talked about, those are all things that are just already budgeted, and
They're already in the plan. is
They're
that
in the
right?
plan, but
but none of them are like near.
So it'd just be moving them up and freeing something else up.
my concern with all of that is depending on how much ARPA funds are utilized in the areas,
Yeah.
you know, you could really put constraint on construction. It's kinda like when they did the gas tax a number of years ago, and what did we lose? We lost 6 cents to the dollar, or 6 cents of the 10-cent increase to price.
Yeah.
So you already, you know, I haven't seen where we've had highly competitive bids yet, so I'm not inclined to wanna push too much work out there if there's not capacity to do it. I mean, you could pick one of those off. I mean, how much do we have, 600,000?
The 968 is what I've got.
You got 960?
It fits the courthouse pretty easy.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying I'm opposed to that, I was just looking at that and understanding why, what was the reason, if there was some bridge that was in some dire need versus the other ones and we didn't have some need for it.
I'm assuming all these bridge replacements, those are all like, on the deficient list. Is that correct? I don't know, it may not be.
But to your point, Jeff, you know, we talk about and I don't know if this is part of it or not, the workload on these contractors, but if you look at how slowly the work is going forward in the county currently, I would be inclined to think that your bids on these are gonna be on the higher side, because they got so much work now, they don't care if they get the bid or not, and if they get it, we're gonna make a truckload of money on it. Would that be close to a correct assumption? Possibly?
I don't know, I don't have
know.
a feel for it lately. I know we had a couple where we know, we canceled one, right, cause we didn't get competitive bids, and I don't know if you guys we haven't had many lettings lately, have we? Have we seen any, what are you hearing in the engineering world? Are the prices going up?
A lot of it depends on the window you give the contractor to complete the work. You know, if they have if you want it done this year, you're gonna pay for it. If you give them the option
Yeah.
this year, next year, then the winter work, it definitely shows in the price.
So are these, I don't remember the funds, they have to be encumbered by 2024.
Expended by 26.
That's it.
So expended by 26, so like a bridge replacement, that would give you some flexibility in that. Encumbered by 24, spend by 26?
Yes, and I mean, these have differing degrees of readiness, like Holly and 150th, those are on the schedule, but, those are, they will get done. And then 135th and 120th are next, then trolley and sweep.
So the engineering on Holly and 150 are ready to go, so they could go to letting quickly.
Those are let,
Those are left.
Oh, they're already
They're
let,
ready to
they're ready.
spend the money.
okay. And those are all local dollars?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be opposed to pushing at least one of those bridges.
Okay.
Or
So-
maybe both.
So,
Maybe two of them, maybe you take the 895 and you pop those two bridges, and that frees up secondary road dollars to go to pull the next bridge in.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't, and my concern is around price and losing capacity to price, but if we, it sounds like we have some flexibility on these dollars, and we could get them in that time frame. So if we can do that and free up our local dollars to do more bridges, I'm good with that.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to that. Like I said, if they're ready, if there was one, I don't know if that leaves anything for the courthouse either. I still wanna do something. If there's more, we could throw another.
That would leave about 60 grand, I think.
Oh, that would be it?
But we're putting $1 million to the courthouse already.
Yeah,
right?
but,
That's what you talked about.
Yeah.
right, we've already kind of.
All right, then I'm good. And let's go ahead and go with that. Let's go with this.
135th, 150th, and then the rest of the
Is it
courthouse.
135th or is it one, I thought it was,
Holly, I'm sorry.
Holly and 150.
Holly and 150.
Is it 35th or 150th? 150th.
Holly and 150.
Holly at the 150th.
Okay, well, no, my math's off. That leaves, I was looking at the wrong one. So that
62.
leaves about 187.
Then I'd just throw
So
that to
then-
the roof.
Yeah,
Throw-
the numbers are also actually lower than, when we did this, that was an estimate, we have the actual numbers are actually lower.
Oh, what are they now? I'll put them in my little.
He's got the contracts here.
I don't know, but it would be great to get caught up on some of the bridges.
Yeah.
in our
Oh, yeah.
county.
So what's Holly? Okay, sorry.
Here, I'll just show them before, so I don't mess them up. This is 150th, it's 320,000, 808, 50 cents.
320.
320,
808 and 50.
Okay.
Okay.
This one is Holly.
365.
Okay, that's good.
08082.
08.
08082. Thank you.
Okay.
So we're 685, 690.
What's
So I'm
the,
showing
what's,
us that with 282, 858 left to go, basically.
what's the historic jail renovation? That's
That's to fund the,
Isn't that turn it into a museum? I'll pull up the.
80850.
I've got you left here.
This estimate is to
Oh, yeah.
rework the back half of the building to create an office space for the commission,
That's right.
possibly a meeting space, an ADA restroom. The museum piece of it would be the front part, and that's not part of this.
Got it.
And this is an updated, back to Horizon Architecture, and have them update based on what's going on in the world right now. And this is gonna be an estimate for what they think that would be.
So we could only cover about
Well,
half of the
I mean,
request with what we
if,
found.
even if that though, it's still a huge, boost for them to be able to possibly fund the rest.
Yeah.
I mean, if we were able to do that and really say that we're adding assets of what we have here in the county.
I think the courthouse roof has to happen.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would,
but we've already got a million there, and
Well,
we're
yeah,
still
I
gonna
would,
quote
I would
those out
take
too.
that, I would take the balance and put it on the courthouse roof, or if you think that, if you think the labor can handle it, even look at, a third bridge to put in the works. If we've got, another, what do you need, 150 or whatever, $1,000 to pick up a third bridge. I'm either putting the balance on the courthouse roof, or I'll put it towards the third bridge, is where I'm at. Does that make sense?
Well, I think we should put some of it towards the historic jail, but I'm just giving you my opinion.
Yeah.
We have to spend, eventually we're gonna spend taxpayer dollars on the courthouse and on the bridges. We don't eventually have to spend taxpayer dollars on the jail. So, to my mind, we're giving a tax break to people unless we put it toward the jail.
I agree with that. I'd like to see more fundraising on the jail expansion. I don't know where they're at. I haven't heard the updates, and I think, I always, all along, you know, we have that facility, and I've supported maintaining the facility to an extent that, it protects our assets. But you're talking an expanded use here, and I don't know how we fund that long-term, or who's gonna fund it, how it's gonna work, I still haven't, I'm just not,
And I'm not a fan of buying somebody else's office space.
yeah, I think the money be better spent either on a bridge or the roof.
I understand, but it's a want, it's not something we're gonna have to do. If we don't do these other things, the roof will fall off of it.
Difficulty with fundraising.
Yeah.
Because it's a county-owned building,
Sure.
people don't wanna donate to.
Well,
fix up a county
I
building.
suppose
That's
it's
what
a
they're
catch-22 there, but I'm looking at needs and wants.
We're still gonna have to maintain that building regardless.
Yeah, we don't have to put in a ADA bathroom.
Yeah, I think, you know, we have funds that we have opportunities with, occasionally, and we could consider those long-term, but I'm just,
Yeah, and
I
that's
think
not
we have
something
some
that,
pressing needs right now.
that's not a time, even so, I don't perceive that as a time-sensitive need. That could happen at any time when we get the funds, for the renovation of the jail. Whereas these things are coming due, these other items. I guess I don't see that we're close enough with the, and maybe with the price coming down on those others, it would be closer, but those were those two bridge, replacements we just looked at were the cheapest, as I see. And, you know, we're not gonna be able to cover much more than half of any other one with these funds. I guess, I know the same is true of the courthouse, but I'd rather put the money toward getting that thing fixed. Unless you guys think we can do it for, Keith and Brian, you think we can do it for cheaper, any of those other projects? I mean, they'll be somewhat cheaper possibly, but.
Do you have another, do you have that estimate? The original apps that were submitted are total project things.
Sure.
And so what you've seen on the two is construction cost, not engineering, survey, design, inspection costs. So I'm pretty confident they'll be lower than the numbers that we have shown there for the construction cost. Just like you saw on the two that are actually let.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, inflation and prices, maybe not, maybe they jump up towards that.
No, especially if we're already adding two. I know we can space them out, but.
I would throw the rest on the levy then. If we're gonna be tossing around money, I would rather push it over towards the levy on the next phase. We're gonna need more money on that regardless of it. You're just talking about tax dollars that you're gonna be saving, and I would rather put it there.
What's the story on phase 4 there?
Phase 4 is next stage pumps, right?
And I don't know that there's any plan at this point to move forward with that I'm aware of.
Yeah, there was, in my last conversations with Brian Gross, there was, you know, there's some he feels like that maybe the numbers are, there's a potential it could be much lower than what they're anticipating, but I don't think they know enough yet to know exactly what it is. Cause I don't remember, they had like 1.7 million.
Well, they're saying 225 here.
Yeah, and I think in my conversation with him at the update meeting, he thought that might be 700, or less.
But they don't have a timetable.
Well, I think it's, sometimes you make your best guess, but you don't know what you don't know. The other thing is, that was the email we had recently where Mike Norris is trying to get re-involved, and again, Louisa County, I would like to see Louisa County, get a little bit more involved in some of
That
the
meeting
levy.
was with Louisa County that we had set up this week, so. Well, can we allocate what we have and then just leave the 287 until we get done, or do we need to push this all out today? I mean, if we got everything else set up,
You have to have it committed
We have to have
by
it all committed.
2024, right? So,
We got a little time.
So I would say that, let's go ahead with what we have.
I'm good with everything we have, and then we'll just figure out what we.
Yeah,
We leave that 282, and then we see what happens, and
That gives
I'm
us
fine
some
with
time
that.
from information on that other ones, and then if we need to, still throw it on the roof if have to be. But I'm good with where we're at right now.
good with where we're at currently.
That works.
Okay. Make good progress.
Cause we haven't, well, we have courthouse, we have bids, so we know that.
We do, but that's, again, we're still gonna.
Was it 2 million or was it one?
1,800,000, I think, so
Alright.
Okay.
I rounded it up, because that doesn't include when they start stripping things off, if they run into any damage that they can't see right
Contingencies.
now.
Sure.
And it'd be shocking that there isn't, so,
Okay, you don't know what you don't know.
right.
I still think we should separate those into bids, but
Do what?
quotes, actually get like bids for multiple, I mean, instead of one just contractor that does 3 different types of roofs on there, there's value in some of that, but I'd like to talk to that roofing contractor or whoever we end up deciding to choose with that, because there's
concerned with
there's
that.
the EPDM roof, there's a regular shingle type, and then there's actual gutter work. So it's not like just one roofing contractor, you're doing multiple different types of work, and then you're actually looking at scaffolding the whole courthouse. So there's gonna be multiple different subs on that whole job.
So our concern with that is the mobilization cost, if you split it into 3, each one of those bids is gonna have to include the cost to put up scaffolding. And what we run into, we might find somebody else to do the flat roof, but we haven't found anybody else who can do the copper dome tiles for it.
But I mean, in a sense, if that were the case, though, we still, and I'm not trying to go into too much, but you could just find a contractor to supply scaffolding, and we just pay that on our own. And then you could end up finding somebody that just, okay, we supply the scaffolding, we pay for that portion of it, and then you have somebody that just does that flat roof, and then you tell this guy, hey, this is what your job is, you specialize in these round dome roofs, and you do these shingles and the gutters. It's just a way of looking at it versus it paying such a huge markup for them to sub everything out. Those are just potential options to save some tax dollars. Because in a sense, if we were to supply the scaffolding, Sherry, then in a sense, they would just have to utilize that. And that can be used by multiple
Right,
contractors.
and there's, I guess my question is, with this company, who will do all the work? I don't believe they're subbing it out, they have divisions of their company that do this work, they'll put up the scaffolding, they'll do the work. To say, okay, you put up your scaffolding, you do this much of it, and then we pay to have scaffolding put up by somebody else so they can do the flat roof. I'm not sure that we'll see any savings there. And I don't want it lost on you guys that we've spent 3 years, along with Horizon Architecture, all of us trying to find a company who will do this work, and they're few and far between.
And I will say, we don't have a rich history of success at breaking projects out and managing it ourselves. I know that if you know, when you work and you have an engineering staff, you can do that, but we don't have that. We have people that have jobs every day and that's what they do. And we have done this on a few projects and it's never, I don't think we've ever realized the gains we'd hoped we would.
Well, and I spoke to Mike Nolan, and he will write specs for this if we wanna bid it. But we talked to about bidding the whole thing at once, you know, cause you start requiring different people to have their own access to the roof for 3 different projects, is gonna drive that cost up over what this is. Cause access is such a problem with that building.
Yeah.
But we could do that and put it out for bid and see what we get. The problem we have is who do you send it to? You know, cause we got a lot of no's with regular roofers in the area. You know, we had BC Roofing who did the jail, and, you know, they're a fairly big company, they took a look and said, we don't do this. So, you know, we think that's what we're gonna find. We have the cost of having the specs written, I don't know how much that will be, we haven't talked about that, but we can certainly do that and try to get bids, but
I just think it,
specialized items, we don't have a requirement to get through bids on this.
I think it's just a very large cost that I think is just, in my opinion, very normal to do bids for this type of action. So that's just my input. At the end of the day, if I'm outvoted, that's fine. Just giving you my input on that.
And my point, if that's what we're gonna do, we probably need to contract with our architect, get these
Yep.
specs written,
And I think that it's good, so they understand exactly what we're asking them for to put in, regardless of who we give that to. That way we're consistent in who we're sharing that message to.
Sure.
I'm just curious in this kind of specialized work, if there would be my assessment, and if, this organization that does this specialized work, I'm wondering about the scaffold. What particular needs they have in this specialized work up there, if we break this down into multi, bids to do the different steps of it, is everybody going to need the same type of scaffolding and the same, does one scaffold fit all the pieces of the puzzle to do the job? That would be my very first concern.
I think.
And if, another point I have, if this specialized company has a scaffolding operation that they like to work with, or a special type, I think that needs to be brought to light as well. It may not, there's all different kinds of things out there. I think that I don't know. I don't know this. I can't imagine that everything is the same.
Well, there's.
I think they'll come put up the scaffolding, but they need to do all the work.
Yeah. It's OSHA's regulations, so they're gonna follow the same standards. They have to be load rated. You can't just get some random pole or random boards.
Sure.
They have to be special treated, they have to be certified, they have to be, so many years old. I mean, there's literally all kinds of regulations for those scaffolds, and that scaffold will be rated for all of the jobs if that were, and that's just an option that I'm suggesting. At the end of the day, if we choose to just completely bid it all out at once and do it as a lump sum for the whole job, I'm fine with that. I'm just sharing my input and having those discussions to see if there's value and looking at ways that we can utilize those dollars. That's all I'm suggesting.
And the question I have is, cause I don't know.
Yeah, but it is.
Is a one size fits all situation.
It's technically not a one size, but it is one spec. You know, that scaffold will be rated for that type of load, for the size. I mean, they're normally not used to haul up multiple amount of materials. They'll probably use cranes for that type of stuff.
Right.
But for access for employees to go up and down, to have, you know, an actual scaffold is considered a working platform. So they technically, you know, be able to wear their harnesses, but then in a sense, once they're up there and they have the scaffold, if it's completely enclosed, they can literally work in a sense without it, depending on what kind of requirements that safety group would have. But yeah, they should be meeting that.
Well, I think, you know, right now we're talking about allocating funds. That's a process question, so I think we can move forward with the funds, and then we'll decide how we move forward with the process.
All right, so we'll move forward with what we have, and then we'll come back and regroup on that.
Sounds good.
Okay.
We'll bring a resolution to you next week encumbering the funds, as you discussed today,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
All right. Anything other, Nancy?
I don't have anything else.
All right. Next is, receive information from county employees. Do I have any county employees that wish to address the board at this time? Seeing no one come forward. Receive comments from the public. Do I have anyone from the public that would like to address the board at this time on any issue whatsoever? Seeing no one come forward, it is,
One thing, I'll be gone next week.
okay,
Gonna be camping, but other than that, it's good.
okay. It's 9:54 and we are adjourned.